The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was built to make visitors feel small. Its ceiling stretched so high that clouds sometimes formed inside. 47 platforms floated in a circle, each holding representatives from different species. Light came from everywhere and nowhere, making shadows disappear. Admiral Taiho stood in the center where accused species were meant to stand. He was 63 years old, with gray hair cut short and a face that showed nothing. Behind him stood Ambassador Yuna, younger but equally calm. They wore simple black uniforms, while the council members around them displayed bright colors and expensive metals. For 300 years, humanity had been part of this council. They had joined as newcomers, given one small vote among 47. They traded fairly. They kept their promises. They asked for very little. Most species forgot humans existed until they needed something fixed or a trade deal arranged. Now the Morellians wanted them gone. High Arbiter. Vorath stood on the tallest platform. His species had 4 arms and skin like polished stone. His voice echoed through the hall as he read the charges against humanity: illegal expansion into neutral space, hoarding of strategic resources, development of weapons beyond permitted levels, and most serious of all, aggressive biological potential that threatens galactic peace. Taiho almost laughed. Aggressive biological potential. It meant humans could live on almost any planet. It meant they had children quickly. It meant they adapted and survived where other species could not. The Morellians called this a crime. The evidence was thin. Everyone in the hall knew it. A few mining operations near dead stars. Some research stations studying black holes. Nothing that broke any real law. But the Morellians had spent decades building alliances, making deals. Whispering fears about the humans into receptive ears, the vote began. Species after species pressed their buttons. The Veth Collective voted against humanity. So did the Kashurin Federation. The Talani, the Morvith, the Distant Choir, all the same. Some looked ashamed as they voted. Others did not meet Taiho's eyes. The final count appeared in the air, 13-9 against. 8 in favor. Humanity was declared a threat to galactic stability. Vorath read the punishment with satisfaction dripping from every word. Humanity would surrender all colonies outside their home system. Their fleets would be reduced to 50 ships, all unarmed. Their technology would be monitored. Morellian observers would live on Earth to ensure compliance. The word Vorath did not use was slavery. But everyone understood. Taiho looked at Yuna. He expected her to argue. For 3 months, she had prepared speeches and legal challenges. She had evidence of Morellian corruption, proof that this was all about taking Earth's solar system and its rich asteroid belts. Instead, Yuna smiled. She stepped forward, her boots clicking on the stone floor. The hall fell silent. "The Galactic Council has voted," she said. "Humanity accepts the judgment." Whispers spread through the platforms. "This was unexpected. We'll leave our colonies," Yuna continued. "We will reduce our fleets. We will do everything you have asked." Vorath leaned forward. "You understand this means complete submission to council authority?" "No," Yuna said. "You misunderstand. We accept that we are not wanted here. So we will leave. Leave." A Kashurin representative laughed, his scales flashing blue. "Leave to where? Every system is mapped. Every region is claimed. There is nowhere to go." Yuna turned to face him. Her smile did not waver. "Beyond?" The word hung in the air. Beyond meant the space outside the galaxy, the empty void where no stars burned. No species had ever gone there. No species wanted to. Vorath recovered quickly. "You are bluffing. No civilization can survive in the void." "Perhaps," Yuna said. "But we would rather try than live as your servants." The council voted again, this time to accept humanity's self-exile. 47 in favor. Not a single vote against. They were happy to see the humans go. What followed was the largest movement of people in galactic history. Within 1 month, human ships began leaving the colonies. Massive transport vessels carried entire cities' worth of people. Cargo ships held everything that could be moved: machines, seeds, animals, art, books, the sum of human culture and knowledge. Taiho commanded the military escort. His job was simple: keep the Exodus safe till the last human was gone. Other species watched from their worlds as the human convoys passed. Some felt guilt. Most felt relief. A few younger species, ones who had traded with humans and called them friends, felt something like grief. The Talani ambassador sent a private message to Yuna. "This is wrong. We voted against you because we were afraid. Please, there must be another way." Yuna's reply was short. "Fear is a choice. So is courage. You made yours?" On Earth, the last humans prepared to leave the world where their species was born. They took soil from every continent. They recorded the songs of every bird, the sound of every river. They saved seeds from every plant. Admiral Taiho stood on a hill in a country called Korea, where his ancestors had lived for thousands of years. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and red. He breathed the air and memorized the smell of it. His daughter Suben stood beside him. She was 25, a commander in the fleet, already showing the leadership that would one day make her famous. "Will we ever come back?" she asked. "I do not know," Taiho said, "but we will remember." The last ship left Earth on a Tuesday. The planet was not destroyed or damaged. Humanity simply left it behind, like a house whose owners had moved away. Vorath sent observers to Earth 1 year later. They found empty cities, silent machines, and gardens growing wild. Everything of value was gone. The humans had even taken their dead, moving graves that were centuries old, rather than leave their ancestors behind. A single beacon floated in orbit around Earth. It broadcast one message: "Repeating forever, will not see us again. We hope you never need to," the Council celebrated. The human problem was solved. Vorath received awards. The Morellians divided the solar system among their allies. Nobody asked where the humans had really gone. Nobody wondered what they might be building in the dark. Nobody thought to count the ships that had left, realized the numbers did not match any official record. 300 years of quiet partnership. And the Council had never truly understood humanity at all. They were about to learn. 50 years passed, and the galaxy changed in ways nobody expected. Captain Minho was the first to truly understand something was wrong. He commanded a Morellian patrol ship that traveled the old human trade routes. Before the exile, these paths had been busy with merchant vessels. Human traders had connected distant species, carrying goods and ideas across impossible distances. Now the routes were empty. Minho stood on his bridge, watching stars drift past. His second officer, a young female named Hannah, worked at her console nearby. "Report from Sector 7, Hannah said. "The Talani are refusing to trade with the Kasharin again." "Third time this month?" Minho sighed. "What is their reason now?" "Same as always. Old grudges. Without human mediators, they cannot agree on anything." This was the pattern everywhere. Humans had been the galaxy's neutral party. They had no ancient wars, no blood feuds, no territorial claims against other species. When two civilizations needed someone to carry messages or arrange deals, they called the humans. Now, there was no one. The Veth Collective had sealed their borders completely. They trusted no one and traded with no one. The Kasharin and Morellians fought small wars over empty planets that humans had once occupied. 3 minor species had already gone extinct. Their populations too small to survive without the trade networks humans had built. Minho pulled up old records on his display. He had been a child when the humans left, but he remembered them. A human engineer had fixed his family's water system when he was 7. She had smiled at him and given him a piece of sweet food from her own world. "What happened to you?" He whispered to the empty space on his screen. Hannah looked up from her work. "Captain, did you say something?" "Nothing." Minho closed the records. "Set course for the rim. Command wants us to survey old human territory." The rim was the edge of the galaxy, where stars grew thin and the void began. This was where humans had vanished 50 years ago. Morellian leadership still claimed the humans had died out there, unable to survive in the emptiness. But no one had actually checked. Minho's ship traveled for 3 weeks before reaching the first former human colony. It was a small world called New Busan, once home to 2 million people. Morellian records said it should still have buildings, machines, everything the humans left behind. The planet was bare rock, not destroyed, not burned, just empty. Every building had been removed. Every road had been erased. Even the air had been cleaned of human chemicals. It was as if humans had never touched this world at all. Hannah ran scan after scan. This is impossible. The records show the humans built a city here, farms, a spaceport. Where did it all go? Minho had no answer. They visited 5 more worlds. All the same, perfectly clean, perfectly empty. Humanity had not just left their colonies. They had erased themselves completely. Back on the Morellian homeworld, Hannah transferred to an intelligence division. She was too curious to stop asking questions. Her new supervisor was Director Tai Wu, an older male who had survived many political changes by never making waves. "I found something," Hannah told him one morning. She had spent months digging through old databases, finding files that should have been deleted. Tai Wu looked at her datapad with tired eyes. "What am I looking at?" "Human departure logs. Official records say they left with about 50,000 ships. But I found hidden manifests. Backup files from stations they thought they had erased, and..." Hannah's voice dropped. "They left with 3 million ships. Maybe more." Tai Wu was silent for a long moment. "That is not possible. They never had that many."
"They did."
"They built them in secret. Hidden stations between stars where nobody ever looked. They were preparing to leave for decades before we voted them out. Maybe longer." The truth was worse than anyone wanted to believe. Humanity had not been surprised by the Council's betrayal. They had expected it. They had planned for it. Every trade deal, every peaceful gesture, every quiet moment had been buying time. Time for what? Tai Wu took the datapad from Hannah's hands. "This report will cause panic. People will ask questions that cannot be answered. I am going to lose this file." "Hey, sir, the Council needs to know. The Council knows what it wants to know." Tai Wu deleted the file. "Forget this. Find something else to study. The humans are gone. That is the end of it." But it was not the end. Strange reports began arriving from deep space observatories. Signals that did not match any known species. Patterns in the cosmic background radiation that should not exist. Scientists argued about natural phenomena and instrument errors. A Beth astronomer detected a massive energy signature beyond the galactic rim. She reported it to her superiors. They told her to check her equipment. She checked it 7 times. The signature remained. Something was out there. Something enormous. Something artificial. The astronomer sent an encrypted message to colleagues in other species. Within months, a secret community of scientists formed, sharing data across political boundaries. They called themselves the Watchers. They were watching 2 things. The first was the void beyond the rim, where impossible structures blocked starlight in patterns too regular to be natural. The second was something else, something coming from the opposite direction. Deep space sensors had detected movement in the darkness between galaxies. Thousands of objects, maybe millions, approaching slowly but steadily. The Watchers calculated trajectories. They ran simulations. They argued about what they were seeing. One theory kept emerging. The humans had known. That was why they left. Not because the Council exiled them, but because something worse was coming. Hannah, now older and wiser, had joined the Watchers in secret. She studied the approaching objects and felt cold fear in her bones. "How long until they reach us?" she asked during a hidden meeting. A Kashuran scientist named Subin answered. She was young and brilliant, descended from a family that had always respected humans. "At current speed, between 5 and 10 years. Do we know what they are?" "No, but they are not natural, and they are not friendly." The Watchers tried to warn the Council. They were ignored. Voroth, still High Arbiter after 50 years, dismissed their findings as panic and nonsense. "We have peace," he declared. "The galaxy is stable. These scientists want funding, nothing more." 6 months later, the first attack came. It began at the edge of Kashuran space. A mining station went silent. Then a colony. Then a patrol fleet. The attackers left nothing behind. No bodies, no wreckage. Not even debris, just empty space where life had been. The galaxy's long silence was ending, and humanity was nowhere to be found. The Kashuran homeworld burned for 9 days. Commander Subin stood on the bridge of her warship as her planet died below. She had been away when the attack began, leading a patrol near the rim. By the time she returned, half her world was already gone. The attackers had no name. They came from the void between galaxies, from the cold dark where nothing should live. Their ships were made of black metal that seemed to drink light. Their weapons cut through shields like paper. They did not communicate, did not negotiate, did not stop. They simply consumed. Scientists would later call them the Hollow, because their ships were empty of anything organic. No crew, no pilots, no living minds at all. Just cold machines following cold programming, stripping worlds of all biological matter. Subin watched a hollow vessel descend on a coastal city. Its underside opened like a mouth, and blue light poured down. Where the light touched, everything vanished. Buildings remained standing. Water stayed in the oceans. But every plant, every animal, every person simply ceased to exist. "Get us out of here," Subin ordered. Her voice was calm, even as her heart broke. "There's nothing we can do." Her ship fled with a handful of survivors. Behind them, the Kashuran homeworld fell silent forever. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. For the first time in memory, every species was afraid of the same thing. Voroth stood at his platform, trying to maintain control as chaos spread through the hall. "We must coordinate our defenses," he announced. "Combined fleets from all member species will meet the enemy at the border of There Is No Border," interrupted a Talani representative. "They are everywhere. 4 of our colony worlds went dark this morning. Veth Collective has lost contact with half its territory," reported another voice. "Weapons do not damage their ships," added a Morvith commander. "We have tried everything." Voroth gripped his platform until his stone-like hands cracked. "Then we will find new weapons. We will adapt. We will survive." But they could not. The Hollow were not simply stronger. They were different. Their technology operated on principles no galactic scientists understood. Their ships could appear without warning, bypassing every detection system. Their weapons ignored shields and armor. And they were countless, endless waves pouring from the darkness. In 3 months, a quarter of the galaxy was dead or dying. Subin took command of what remained of the Kashuran fleet. It was not much. 30 ships where there had once been thousands. She gathered survivors from destroyed worlds and kept moving, always one step ahead of the Hollow. During a brief rest near a dead star, she accessed old archives. She was looking for anything useful, any weapon or tactic that might help. Instead, she found a hidden file, one the Council had buried long ago. It was a human report, written before the exile. A warning about something detected beyond the galactic rim, something approaching from between galaxies. The report included calculations, predictions, and a simple conclusion. The humans had known. They had tried to warn the Council, and the Council had called them paranoid. Subin read the final lines of the report again and again. "The threat will arrive within 100 years. Current galactic defense capability is insufficient. We recommend immediate preparation and cooperation among all species. If this warning is ignored, extinction is probable." The report was signed by Admiral Taiho, the same human who had stood accused in the Council chamber 50 years ago. Subin made a decision. She pointed her ship toward the void beyond the rim, toward the darkness where humans had vanished. It was foolish. It was probably suicide. But it was also the only hope she had left. "Where are we going?" asked her navigation officer. "To find old friends," Subin said, "or die trying." Her ship crossed into the void. Sensors showed nothing. Stars grew thin and then disappeared entirely. The darkness was complete. After 6 days of blind travel, Sebin's crew began to lose hope. Supplies were running low. Sensors showed nothing but empty space in every direction. Then a light appeared. It was small at first, a single point in the blackness. Then it grew, revealing itself as a ship. Not a hollow vessel. Something else. Something familiar. A human warship hung in the void ahead of them. It was massive. Twice the size of anything the Council had ever built. Its hull was covered in symbols Subin did not recognize. Weapons bristled from every surface. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. A voice crackled over the communication system. It spoke in perfect Kasharine. "Unknown vessel. This is the HSV Guardian of Dawn. State your identity and purpose." Sabin's hands trembled as she activated her own communicator. "This is Commander Subin of the Kasharin Remnant Fleet. We come seeking help. Our galaxy is dying." Silence, then a different voice, older and heavier with emotion. "Subin, the daughter of Admiral Taiho's friend?" Subin felt tears forming in her eyes. "I do not know. My father spoke of a human friend. He said the man was the most honorable person he ever knew." "I am that man," the voice said. "I am Taiho, and I have been waiting for this call for 50 years. The Guardian of Dawn led Sabin's ship deeper into the void. What she saw there changed everything she believed about the universe. Humanity had not died in exile. They had flourished. 17 constructed worlds hung in the darkness, each one glowing with artificial light. Stations the size of moons orbited around them. Ships beyond counting moved between structures. A defensive line stretched across the edge of the void. Thousands of automated platforms forming a wall between the galaxy and whatever lay beyond. "We call it the Wall," Taiho explained as his image appeared on Sabin's screen. He was old now, over 100 years, but his eyes were still sharp. "We built it to protect the galaxy. Even after everything, we could not simply watch our old neighbors die." "You knew the Hollow were coming," Subin said. "You knew all along?" "Yes. We detected them 200 years before we joined the Council. We tried to prepare. We tried to warn, but nobody listened. So you left. We left because we had to." Taiho's face was sad but not bitter. "The Council feared us. If we had stayed and built our weapons openly, they would have destroyed us before the Hollow ever arrived. We needed time. We needed freedom. Exile gave us both." Subin looked at the massive fleet surrounding her tiny ship. "Will you help us?" Taiho smiled. It was the same smile his daughter had given the Council 50 years ago. "We have been waiting 50 years to help. Send word to your survivors. Tell them to come here. Tell them humanity remembers its friends." He paused, and his smile faded into something harder. "Then tell the Council to prepare. The humans are coming home, and we have a war to win." The refugee convoy stretched across light years of space. 12 billion souls from 9 different species, packed into every ship that could still fly. They followed Subin's signal into the void, leaving behind a galaxy that was burning. Many expected to die in the darkness. They had heard stories about the void, how nothing could survive there, how ships went in and never came out. Parents held their children close. Elders prayed to gods they were not sure existed. Then they saw the lights. Humanity's new civilization peered like a sunrise after an endless night. The refugees stared through their windows at constructed worlds glowing with warmth. Ships approached to guide them safely to landing zones. Messages played in every known language, welcoming them, promising shelter and food and safety. Fleet Marshal Jiho met the first arrivals personally. He was 60 years old, born in exile, raised to lead humanity's military. His uniform was simple, black with silver stars, nothing like the decorations council officers wore. His face was kind but serious. "Welcome to Haven," he told the gathered refugees. You are safe here. We have prepared for your arrival for decades. A Morellian elder stepped forward. His name was Minho, the same captain who had patrolled empty trade routes 50 years ago. He had survived the fall of his homeworld by pure luck. Why? Minho asked. His voice cracked with emotion. We voted against you. We took your worlds. Why would you help us? Gio's answer was simple. Because you needed help. The refugees were given homes, medicine, food. Human doctors worked beside Kashurin surgeons. Human engineers helped Talani families repair their damaged ships. Human teachers opened schools for children of every species. Not everyone was grateful. Some council members who had escaped the Hollow still looked at humans with suspicion and fear. High Arbiter Vorith had survived, evacuating just before his homeworld fell. He complained loudly about human hospitality. This is a trap, he told anyone who would listen. They will use this debt to control us. To dominate the galaxy when the war is over. Few listened. Voreth's warnings had been wrong too many times. Scientist Yunji gave the refugees a tour of human technology. She was in her 40s, one of the brightest minds humanity had produced. Her specialty was physics, the deep rules that governed reality itself. Your travel method uses mapped routes through normal space, she explained to a group of Kashurin and Veth scientists. Ours does not. We can move between any 2 points instantly, without needing paths. The alien scientist stared at her in disbelief. That is impossible. The energy requirements alone would destroy any ship. Yunji smiled. We thought so too. Then we stopped assuming the old rules were correct. She showed them weapons next. Energy projectors that could crack planets. Shields that bent light around ships, making them invisible. Armor that repaired itself faster than enemies could damage it. How did you develop all this in 50 years? A Veth scientist asked. We had motivation, Yunji said. We knew what was coming. Fear is a good teacher. Admiral Taiho met with the surviving council members in a great hall on Haven's largest world. He sat at a simple table, no platform to raise him above others. Yuna sat beside him, white-haired now, but still sharp. Vorath stood across from them, surrounded by representatives from every surviving species. He still wore his ceremonial robes, still tried to maintain the dignity of his position. You could have warned us, Vorath said. You could have stayed and helped us prepare. Taiho nodded slowly. We tried to warn you. I stood in your council chamber and told you the truth. You called me a liar. You called humanity a threat. You voted to exile us. That was different. We did not understand. No, you did not want to understand. Taiho's voice held no anger, only sadness. You saw humans growing strong and felt afraid. You chose to destroy us rather than work beside us. That was your choice. We simply accepted it. Vorath had no response to this. Yuna spoke next. The past cannot be changed. Only the future matters now. The Hollow have consumed half the galaxy. They will not stop until everything is dead. Can you defeat them? Asked a Talani representative. Yes, Yuna said, but not alone. Even with everything we have built, the Hollow are too many. We need allies. We need every ship, every soldier, every mind working together. You want us to fight beside you? We want you to fight for yourselves. We will lead because we understand the enemy best. But this must be everyone's war. Otherwise, it cannot be one. The vote was unanimous. For the first time in galactic history, every species agreed on something. They would follow humanity into battle. Fleet Marshal Jiho assembled the combined fleet near the wall. Human ships formed the core, sleek and dark and deadly. Around them gathered the survivors of every other species. Morellian cruisers, Kashurin destroyers, Talani scouts, even ancient Veth warships pulled from storage. It was the largest military force ever assembled. And Jiho knew it might not be enough. He addressed them all via broadcast. His face appeared on every screen, in every ship. You do not know me, he began. I was born after the exile, in a civilization you never saw. I grew up hearing stories about the galaxy, about all of you. My parents taught me to respect you, even after everything that happened." He paused, letting his words settle. "The Hollow are not like any enemy you have faced. They do not want territory. They do not want resources. They want to end all life, everywhere, forever. They are a machine with one purpose, and they will never stop. But we can stop them. Not because we are stronger or smarter, because we are alive. We can think and adapt and grow. They cannot. They are frozen in their programming. We are free. Some of you still fear humanity. I understand. We built weapons that frighten even us. But those weapons exist because we had to survive. We had to protect ourselves in the darkness. Now we will use them to protect everyone. Tomorrow, we fight. Some of us will die. But if we win, our children will live in a galaxy without fear. They will know that when everything seemed lost, their parents stood together and refused to surrender. That is worth fighting for. That is worth dying for." The broadcast ended. Commander Subin stood on the bridge of her rebuilt ship. She had been given command of a mixed squadron, Kasharin, human, and Talani vessels working together. Her crew was nervous, but ready. A message arrived from the Guardian of Dawn, where Admiral Taiho commanded the fleet's center. "Subin," the old man's voice said, "your father would be proud. Whatever happens tomorrow, remember that," Subin replied. "Thank you. For everything. Save your thanks for when we win." The channel closed. Outside Sebin's window, the wall glowed against the darkness. Beyond it, the Hollow waited. Millions of enemy ships, ready to consume everything. Humans were going home, and they were bringing fire with them. The Battle of the Burning Veil lasted 7 months. It began when the combined fleet crossed the wall and entered Hollow-controlled space. The first enemy wave met them near a dead star, where light had stopped shining 1 billion years ago. Black ships emerged from the darkness like nightmares given form. Admiral Taiho commanded from the bridge of the Eternal Dawn. His crew worked in perfect silence, each person knowing their role. On screens around him, the battle unfolded. Human weapons tore through Hollow vessels in ways the enemy had never experienced. Ships that had destroyed entire civilizations exploded like glass. For the first time, the Hollow retreated. But they were not defeated. They learned. The second wave adapted. Hollow ships changed their formations, adjusted their shields. Human weapons still worked, but less effectively. The battle became a grinding exchange of destruction. Commander Subin led her squadron into the thickest fighting. Her ship took damage again and again, but human repair technology kept it flying. Around her, vessels from every species fought side by side. A Talani cruiser sacrificed itself to protect a Morellian transport carrying refugees. A Veth warship rammed a Hollow command vessel, its crew broadcasting ancient war songs until the end. A human destroyer named Busan held a gap in the line for 6 hours, allowing evacuation fleets to escape. Heroes emerged from every species. Cowards, too. But mostly, there were ordinary people, terrified and brave at the same time. Doing what needed to be done. Vorath watched the battle from a civilian ship far from the front lines. He had refused to fight, claiming his position was too important to risk. But as weeks turned to months, something changed in him. He saw Morellians dying to protect Kasharin ships. He saw Talani medics saving wounded humans. He saw the galaxy he had ruled becoming something new, something better. One night, he went to Admiral Taiho's ship and asked for a uniform. "I was wrong," Voreth said, "about everything. I cannot fix the past, but I can fight for the future." Taiho gave him a simple answer. "Good. We need every hand." The old Arbiter served as a supply coordinator for the rest of the war. It was humble work, nothing like his former glory. But when survivors later told stories about the war, they mentioned him with respect. The turning point came in the 5th month, scientist. Wanje had been studying holotechnology since the war began. She and her team captured damaged enemy ships and took them apart piece by piece. What they found changed everything. The Hollow are not independent, she reported to Jiho. They are controlled. Every ship, every weapon, every decision comes from a single source. Where? Yonji pulled up a star map. Deep in the void, beyond where any living ship had traveled, a massive structure pulsed with dark energy. There, the Hollow core. Destroy it, and they all stop. Jiho assembled a strike fleet. The best ships, the best pilots, the best chance they had. Commander Subin was chosen to lead the assault. You might not come back, Jiho warned her. Subin said. But if we do not try, nobody comes back. The strike fleet crossed into the deep void. For 2 weeks they traveled through absolute darkness following Yunji's calculations. The Hollow attacked constantly, trying to stop them. Ships fell one by one, their crews dying to buy time for the others. When they finally reached the core, only 12 ships remained. The structure was vast beyond understanding. It looked like a wound in space, a place where reality itself had been torn. Dark energy flowed from it in waves, feeding the countless Hollow. Vessels throughout the galaxy, Subin opened a channel to her remaining crews. We have one chance. We hit the core with everything we have. If we fail, the galaxy falls. If we succeed, our families live. She did not need to say more. The 12 ships attacked. Human weapons struck the core's surface, cracking ancient structures that had stood for millions of years. Hollow defenders swarmed around them, destroying ship after ship. Sabine's vessel was the last one standing when she reached the core center. Her weapons were gone. Her shields were failing. Half her crew was dead. She aimed her ship at the core's heart and prepared to ram it. Then a voice crackled over her communication system. Subin, this is the Eternal Dawn. Hold position. Through her damaged sensors, she saw an impossible sight. Admiral Taiho's flagship had followed them into the void. It was badly damaged, burning in a dozen places. But still flying? You came, Subin whispered. I could not let you have all the glory. The Eternal Dawn carried Yunji's final weapon, a device that could collapse the core from within. But it needed to be delivered directly by a ship flying into the structure's center. There would be no escape. Tell my daughter I love her, Taiho said. Tell her that her father died well. I will. The Eternal Dawn accelerated past Sebin's crippled ship. It plunged into the core's heart, carrying Taiho and his crew into oblivion. The explosion was visible across 3 galaxies. When the light faded, the Hollow were gone. Every enemy ship, everywhere in the galaxy, simply stopped. The machines that had consumed half of known space became silent metal. Drifting dead in the void, the war was over. Humanity had won. The galaxy rebuilt slowly. Of 47 species that had sat on the council, only 23 remained. Entire civilizations existed now only in memory, their worlds empty tombs. A new council formed, different from the old one. There were no single votes, no dominant species, no hidden agendas. Humans and Morellians and Kasharines sat together as equals. They offered humanity 10 seats, control over a quarter of the galaxy. It was fair payment for everything humans had sacrificed. Fleet Marshal Jiho, now the eldest voice of his people, declined. Keep your seats, he told the assembled representatives. Keep your council. Rebuild your worlds. We ask only one thing. Yuna stepped forward. She was ancient now, the last of her generation. Her voice was quiet, but carried to every corner of the hall. Remember the humans who died for people who had exiled them. Remember the choice humanity made to save rather than abandon. Remember that fear creates enemies, but courage creates friends. On the site where the Kasharin homeworld once orbited, a memorial was built. It floated in empty space, a monument of light and stone, bearing the names of every human ship lost in the war, 40,000 names. 40,000 crews who never came home. At its base, an inscription was carved in every galactic language. They cast us into darkness. We became the light. Commander Subin visited the memorial every year on the anniversary of the battle. She would read the names aloud, one by one, until her voice gave out. The Eternal Dawn was listed among the fallen. Admiral Taiho's name was marked in gold, beside the names of his crew. "You were right," Subin whispered during one visit. "Your daughter is proud." Subin's daughter stood beside her, 7 years old and already asking about stars and ships. The child's name was Yuna, named after an ambassador who had smiled at darkness. Humanity returned to their constructed worlds beyond the rim. They did not demand payment or territory. They did not seek revenge. They had proven their point, not through conquest but through sacrifice. But they did not forget, deep in their archives. Preserved for future generations was a complete record of every council vote, every diplomatic insult, every act of betrayal. Alongside it was a record of every act of kindness, every friendship, every species that had stood with humanity when standing was hard. The humans watched the stars, patient as always. They rebuilt their fleets. They improved their weapons. They trained their children, not for revenge, not for war, for the next storm, because they knew better than anyone. The universe was vast and dark and full of dangers. The Hollow had been one threat. There would be others. And when those threats came, humanity would be ready. They had learned their lesson in exile. Trust was earned, not given. Peace was built, not wished for. And survival required strength that others might fear. The galaxy slept peacefully. Protected by walls it did not see, and humanity kept watch through the endless night, waiting, always waiting.